This video contains minor spoilers for a location and an NPC from Monster Hunter Wilds. If you don't want to be spoiled, feel free to skip the video. Hey there, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be showing you how I made this diorama of Rove from Monster Hunter Wilds. Rove is an NPC that you can find hanging around in the Iceshard cliffs. He's a woodward, which is a sort of otter bear-like thing, and I speak for everyone when I say that I would die for him. Once he's rescued, he serves as a sort of guide through the rest of the cliffs, and he shows up a couple more times throughout the story, mostly to help progress the plot through vague statements. When this game first came out, I knew I wanted to make some dioramas of it, and what better way to start than with my favourite NPC in his predicament. I start by going outside and gathering up a bunch of rocks. I wasn't sure how heavy Rove was going to be at this stage, and I wasn't about to find out by having my diorama tip over, so I figured I'd weigh down the base with a bunch of rocks inside.
Hi!
Using a craft coaster as a base, I start gluing toilet rolls to it, cutting them to size as I go up the pillar. I used toilet rolls here because they're easy to work with, and I have a surplus after collecting them for a few years. Even after moving out, I still have plenty to last me through the winter. As I got towards the tip of the pillar, I started using strips of cardboard to help taper it into a sharp point, and then I reinforced that point with some milliput, out of fear that Rove would be too heavy for the diorama. I then started to glue XPS chunks to the pillar, in an attempt to make it look more like a rock. I then helped it look even more like a rock by slathering it in a thin layer of modelling paste, which is then stippled with a sponge to help it look even more like a rock. It's very rocky. The pillar is then primed black, and then dry brushed grey. It then receives another grey dry brush, this one in a lighter colour, and then a watered down black wash to help bring out some of the details. From there it's time to move on to the man himself. Rove starts off as a white ball of clay that gets cut in half and then hollowed out, which is then filled up with some bacon bond. I take a strip of dark brown clay and then kinda shove it in there, and then follow that up with a blob of light brown clay for his head, and then using a knife I add a fur texture to the dark brown clay. Taking a ball of pink clay, I roll it out into a disc and then glue that on top of his head, and follow it up with a cone of that same pink clay for the top of his hat. I then follow this up with a string of dark red clay to make the ropes on his head, and these are followed up by his gold medallions on the hat. The finishing touch is a piece of green clay that gets shaped into a vaguely feather-like shape, and then he's thrown into the oven for a bake. I then start to paint in the various details on him, starting with his face and then moving on to the details on his hat. Taking some white embroidery thread, I then proceed to wrap up the white parts of the clay in it, making sure to leave a lot at the end so that it can be tied onto the pillar. The thread gets tied to the pillar and then is glued into place with hot glue. I then use that same hot glue to add the ice details on the pillar. The finishing touch is adding some PVA glue to the bottom of the base, and then sprinkling on some fake snow. With that, it's finished. Thank you for watching. Compared to my last diorama, this one is definitely more simple, but I think I've earned a break from large dioramas for now. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, have a good one.